David Vitter, Senator from the great state of Louisiana, who has a thing or two to say about what the president got out of this trip and why our own domestic energy production isn't getting its own help from the federal government. Let's talk and switch gears a little bit, Senator, about what's happening in Libya, because now we see yet another series of mixed and confusing messages coming out of this administration. The Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, saying one thing about Gadhafi and the president saying another. We have the Secretary of Defense seeming to be not on the same page as what this administration is saying. We had the press secretary yesterday saying that, well, this is essentially about helping these people transform their country. Sounds like nation building to me. They had to issue a correction. What's your take on this?
Well, I support limited action in Libya. I just wish we had started 3 or 4 weeks ago. I think it would have been a lot easier and at less cost and given Gadhafi less time to regain ground. But having said that, I think we need to be extremely careful about having clear objectives and guarding against mission creep. And unfortunately, there seems to be a lot of confusion and vagueness about what we're doing and why we're doing it, even within the administration. I think that's what you're pointing to. So there needs to be a lot more clarity and precision about the mission to guard against mission creep. The other
why are you for the mission, Senator? Before we get on to the next point of this, why are Republicans just jumping? It seems to be jumping on board of this Libyan no-fly zone mission, and the way it's being carried out, the multilateralism that apparently is now the necessary prerequisite before this administration makes a decision. I don't see how that's a conservative point of view. I really don't.
Well, I do think we have interest there. I think we have interest guarding against the bloodbath and humanitarian issues that would be caused by
how about in Syria?
Going door to door to stay in power. And I think
Senator, we have humanitarian concerns all over the world. We have Syria slaughtering its people. We have the Ivory Coast slaughtering its people. We had 800,000 people murdered and disgustingly executed throughout just one country in Africa, in Rwanda. So this idea that Republicans are now going to be, there's a humanitarian concern here. Well, welcome to the real world. There are humanitarian concerns that we're not about to send a U.S. military fighter jet to heal.
I understand what you're saying, Laura. I do think we have interest there, not just humanitarian, but strategic ones. There are things going on all through the Middle East, and while we can't get involved in every country, and certainly I'm not talking about boots on the ground, I think we have a big interest in trying to stay somewhat involved to see that it pushes toward real democracy and not some sort of Muslim Brotherhood pseudo-democracy, which would be horrible for our interest, and democracy would go out the window very soon.
But how does a no-fly zone ensure that? Do you know? Are you very familiar with the makeup of these rebels on the ground, or is the Republican Party and the folks on Capitol Hill? You guys know who these people are?
There's no insurance for sure. It's a very tough situation. I just think it's reasonable for us to have that limited involvement.
Okay, and you think it's going to be limited?
It's up to us. I mean, it's absolutely up to us. It's up to us to limit it and to define what the mission is.
What is success there? What would be success?
Success would be to create a no-fly zone so that Gadhafi's forces cannot bombard the rebels from the air, cannot basically lift the plane off the ground.
What's your take on at the very end of this? What's going to happen? I mean, the president hasn't, I guess he's cut short his trip to Brazil, Senator, which right. I know you've been following intimately, but right. He's cut it short by 3 hours. So he's back in Washington, and people are saying he's not really engaged on Capitol Hill.
Well, no one on their side has been terribly engaged in this budget debate. You know, he assigned Vice President Biden to the matter, and immediately Biden went overseas for foreign trips, so they have not been terribly engaged. I think they're finally realizing they need to be now, because Congress is not going to pass another short-term CR. This is final jeopardy. We need to pass a bill for the entire rest of the fiscal year.
What was your take on the president's trip, the optics of it, kicking the soccer ball, all that? What was your take?
I think it's the typical optics, unfortunately, of President Obama traveling the world, and his brand of leadership in terms of the international community we've come to know. It's It's American non-exceptionalism. It's American non-leadership. In its worst form, it's apologizing for America. In terms of energy policy, we saw him basically begging to be a customer of Brazilian production while he's helping shut down the U.S. Gulf of Mexico.
Speaking of, Senator, I don't know if you heard this, but I think we have it. This is the president talking about Chile's great advancement in alternative energy. And again, I don't think I've ever heard him speak so glowingly about American energy production, but let's listen.
The thing that I'm most excited about is the fact that in a country like Chile, it's not just a matter of what we can give to Chile, it's also a matter of what Chile can offer us. Chile has done some very interesting work around clean energy. There may be initiatives that are taking place here in Chile that might be transferable to the United States.
Well, what do we need to learn from Chile? I mean, God bless them, Senator, and sure, they're good people,
right,
but I mean, it's just very odd.
Venezuela isn't on this trip. You might even speak more glowingly. Who knows?
If he had stopped in Venezuela for a
right.